one of the Discover Tech resources. Discover Tech is part of the StarNet Libraries, and here you can see there's a website and lots more information about StarNet, their online resources. We've got Anne is one of the main contacts there, as well as Kelly and LeConte. Let's go ahead and also mention a little bit about, come on, the Explore materials. The activities that we're doing were designed as part of LPI's Explore program, designed for libraries, camps, and other out-of-school time programs. They use inexpensive materials, and they highlight a number of science and engineering concepts. We've got a lot of websites there for you as well, resources and groups that you can join. We'll come back to those later. We can see the answers to the questions here. Have you heard of the Playful Building engineering activities before? It looks like some of you, just a couple of you have used them. Some of you have heard of them, but most of you have not used them before, so or have heard of them. Engineering design activities, we've got a variety of responses there, right? So a couple of you have done them and enjoyed them. Some of you have not yet. A couple of you have had some challenges with them, and some of you are unsure about what these are. We're going to have to talk a little bit more about some engineering design activities here as well. The activities that we're about to do are engineering design activities. We're going to be doing Team Machine, Water Wedges, and Levers at Play. All of these activities are great for children all the way up to tweens, and they're very social activities that involve people working together. Engineering design activities, just like the engineering design process, requires that you do something, you think about it, you might build it, you test it, you do it again. You think some more, you build some more, you test it again, you redesign. So this idea about the engineering design process is you create something, but then you think about ways to improve it. And you do it again, you design again, you build again, you test it again. And it's a very social process. It's not something, you can do it on your own, but it's always better when you're doing it with other people. So this is the process we're going to be doing for all three of those activities. The first activity, Team Machine, we are going to be using a team of people. So come on down, folks. Come on down. Team Machine requires a group of people. It's a starter activity in which people get to know each other a little bit. And so here we have Yolanda and Claudia and George and Andy. Andy, you're going to have to step forward a little bit further. And the first thing I'd like you ladies to do, and gentlemen to do, is to get into a circle. So we're going to form a circle here. And in this circle, I'm going to hand, you can usually use it with a beanbag, but today we're going to use a squishy ball here. And let's see, Claudia, George, let's have you step a little bit closer to me. And Yolanda, a little bit further over there. Yeah. Okay. So we want to be a nice circle where everybody can see everybody. Okay. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to say my name and I'm going to toss the ball, and the next person says their name and tosses the ball, not passing it to the person next to you, but tossing it to somebody else in our circle. Okay. Actually, I was wrong. Your name. This is a way that people can get to know each other, I see. And they won't know your name unless you say it. So, but we have to do the same pattern. So you always pass the ball to the same person. So, I'm not going to say Claudia yet. I'm going to say Christine. Claudia. George. Oh, that's okay. George. Yolanda. Andy. Christine. George. Yolanda. Andy. Christine. Claudia. George. Yolanda. Christine. Okay, so we've started to say our names, to share our names. This is an icebreaker activity. The next step is to try to get faster and to keep the same pattern and to say the name of the person you're throwing it to now. Okay, so going faster here. Claudia. George. Yolanda. Oh, Claudia. George. Yolanda. Andy. Claudia. George. Oops. Okay. We dropped the ball. That's fine. We dropped the earth. Yolanda. Andy. Okay, so now, how can we make this process go even faster? What are some ways that we can make this happen faster, make it faster? Imagine that I'm standing off to the side and I'm timing us, and you're competing against other teams doing exactly the same thing. Why don't you folks start putting in the chat box your ideas for how you would make this faster? It has to be the same order. You can't change the order. How can you make this faster? What do you folks think? How can we make this faster? That's one way.
If we all put our hands in the
If we all put our hands in the center, that might be faster. Okay, so I would go Claudia.
Joy, Yolanda, Andy.
Claudia.
Joy, Yolanda, Andy.
So hands together is a little bit faster. Is there another way that we might be able to make this faster? Has to be the same order of people. Has to be the same order of people, but you can move around. You can sit, you can stand, you can move around.
Would you like the audience suggestion? Someone has suggested a smaller circle.
Okay, so even smaller circle. Now, mind you, you can do this activity with 7 or 20 people. So if you've got 20 people, there's going to be a limit as to how close you can get reasonably, but that's a great activity, a great idea. Line up in order. Sarah says we should line up in order. So let's switch our order. So I'm passing it to Claudia, so I get next to Claudia. And and you're next. And then you pass it, George passes it to Yolanda, and Yolanda passes it to Andy, and Andy passes it to me. So we can still stay in a circle, but now we're just passing it around in the circle.
You couldn't pass to the person next to you.
Now we can, because we changed our order. So now we can pass to the person next to us. So Claudia.
Yolanda, Andy.
Claudia.
Yolanda, Andy.
So is there a way to make this even faster? Any ideas? So Patrick said to rearrange the order so you stand next to the person. Yes, great idea. And any other ideas?
Get rid of the ball.
So no other ideas here. Any other ideas out there? How can we make this even faster? We're next to the people. We're passing it in order. My idea. Any of you have any other ideas? My idea, I'm going to put my hands at the top. I want you to put your hands underneath mine, and you to put your hands underneath hers. You're going to put your hands underneath hers, and you put your hands on the bottom. So, Claudia.
Yolanda, Andy.
Claudia.
Yolanda, Andy.
So that's faster. And Anne has said that her assistant says to make a waterfall. So that's kind of where we were headed. Absolutely. Absolutely. One other idea some of your participants might come up with is to do sort of a rolling plane. So everybody put your hands together to make a line, as it were. So if I go Claudia, that's faster, right? Let's try that one more time. Claudia?
Andy.
So that's even faster. That might be the fastest way to do it. Thank you all very much. You will see them again. But yeah, so there's a variety of ways, and the idea here is to practice, to talk, to explore, to try again, and each time to try to beat your fastest time. So this T machine, you can actually make an inclined plane, which is what we were doing, something that enables it to move faster. Shorter distance in this case, diagonally going downhill, so that way it's not moving as far and it's not using a lot of energy. We're not having to pass it to each other. And in the process, a screw is a type of inclined plane that's going around in a circle. If you had 20 people participating, they could potentially all still do it that way, making their hands go around in a circle all the way down. And so that's how you could have more than 5 or 6 people. You could have 10 or 20 people doing exactly what we did. They may not come up with that. That's fine. They may have other solutions. This idea of thinking about it, revising their design, and trying again is part of the engineering design process. Anyone have any questions about this before we hop on to the next activity? Please feel free to add a comment in the chat. No questions? Well, I have a question for you. My question for you is, what is a wedge? Anyone want to type in the chat box, what's a wedge? We're going to do an activity called water wedges. Anyone want to describe what a wedge is? And this is the interactive part. So please type your answer into the chat box. All right. We're heading in that direction. Inclined plane, a triangle. A triangle is a great example of a wedge, absolutely. So we've got some different ideas here about what a wedge is. Something that separates another thing, like a triangular shape, absolutely. Separates one thing into two. In this case, our water wedge, excellent, excellent. A water wedge here is a canoe that's going to be separating the water. A canoe is an example anyway. It's got a point and then a broader area behind that point that can be used to apply force more easily. So a canoe can be an example of a wedge. It has that point that is pushing things apart, in this case the water. And it's got that wedge-shaped bow. And the paddle boat, on the other hand, has a square front edge. That paddle boat is not going to be as effective as separating the water. It's going to be harder for it to move as fast. It's going to require more energy. So we are going to do some activities to build boats and test boats that have a wedge-shaped bow and ones that don't. So first part of this is to fold an origami boat, a canoe-shaped boat or a kayak-shaped boat with that wedge at the front. So we're going to switch over to some of our volunteers again here, and we're going to demonstrate to you. And can everybody see that camera? Joey, is that camera the one that's showing up? Yep. Okay. What I would like everyone to do is, and by the way, folks, all of you who are joining us for this, if you are having any trouble seeing the video in detail, there's a way you can expand the video. Joey, how do they expand that video if they want to expand it? On the top right, there's two arrows. In the top right corner of your screen, there's two arrows, and you can click on that to make that video bigger, easier to see. So George and Yolanda and Claudia each have a piece of white paper in front of them. Go ahead and hold up your paper. Now, folks, you can follow along. I recommend you do this at the same time. That way, it'll be easier for you to remember how to do it. We're going to make an origami boat, and the way we're going to do that, I want you to start by folding your paper in half top down so that the fold is going to be on top. You're going to have the fold on top. And we're using paper, Yolanda, what type of paper is it? Not laminated. I keep saying the wrong thing. It's glossy paper. This glossy paper isn't going to sink as fast in water as regular paper. So that's why we're using glossy. So we've got the fold on top. Everybody, Yolanda, make sure your fold is on top. Yeah, fold is on top. Now, we need to know where the middle of it is. So to find the middle, we're going to fold it in half to make quarters, just so we know where the middle of the paper is. And then we're going to open it back up again so that the fold is on top. The fold is on top. But now we know where the middle is. So we're going to start by making a paper hat. We're going to take the top right corner and fold it down to the middle. If you've made a paper hat before, this will be familiar. Top right corner and down to the middle. And then the top left corner and also down to the middle. And yes, you can use the table if you'd like. And go ahead and show them to the cameras so everybody can see on the cameras what these look like. Okay. And now that we've got that part, and folks, please do follow along with a piece of paper of your own. Go ahead. For the bottom parts, I want you to fold up one flap on each side. So the bottom of your triangle, you're going to fold up one flap on the front side and one flap on the back side.
Christine, somebody has asked that you confirm, is this 8.5 by 11 paper?
8.5 by 11 paper is just fine. Perfect. Absolutely. So by the time you're done, you should have something that looks like a paper hat. It has a flap up on both sides, the front side and the back side. Okay, now the next part's a little tricky. I want you to put your fingers in the middle of that paper hat, and I want you to squash it into a square. So from your paper hat, you're going to take the two corners of your paper hat and pull them together. Yes, exactly like what Claudia has there. With those little pieces on the end, you can fold those under. Those little extra flaps on the end, you can fold those under. And so you're flattening it into a square. Yep, I know it seems weird, Yolanda. You've got it right, though. And our glossy paper is making extra noise. So, okay, so now everybody should have a square, and the square should have those flaps sort of on the bottom, right? So you've got a pointed part on the top and the flaps on the bottom. Now I want you to make a triangle, pick the bottom corner and fold it up to the top on one side, and then do the same thing with the other side. So you have a smaller triangle now. And yeah, Yolanda's got hers there. Claudia has hers, and George has hers. So we've got a triangle that basically has 3 flaps on top. Is everybody following along okay? Now we're going to repeat something that we did earlier. We're going to stick our fingers in the middle of the bottom of our triangle, and we're going to open it up to make another square. Open it up to 6. Yeah, Claudia, you've got it. Yolanda, you've got it. George has got it too. So everybody sees we've got a new square here. Now our square has these things at the top. These things at the top that we can pull apart a little bit. And as we pull them apart, we're going to leave that little mountain in the middle, and we're going to make our boat. Pull it apart further. Yep, and then push the sides up. Pull it apart further and push the sides up. I know your sides don't want to come up. They want to stay down. Maybe as you're pulling it apart, Yolanda, go ahead and fold those edges up, the sides up. Nope. Try again. So see what Claudia's got there? Like that. See if you can make that happen. Not those parts. Sure. You're pulling the edges apart a little bit, like that. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of force, especially with their paper, because their paper is thicker. Yay! So some of you have really tall points, some of you have medium size, and some of you have small points. And that's fine. That's not a problem. So you have your boat. Now, what you can do with that boat is, I'm going to walk around you to get over to the front. The camera's going to stay on you. You can test your boat in the water. Go ahead and put it in the water. And you can add some glitter to the water and blow on it to see how fast it moves. Compare your boats to see which ones move the fastest. Now, we have materials here where we could also build additional boats. Go ahead and put your boats in the water. Any water. Any water. And sink it if you want. Then go ahead, and there's some glitter there. If you wanted to sprinkle some glitter on the water, yes, you can fix your boat. And you can blow on it to see how fast it moves. We have materials that you can have the kids use. Anne says she got a paper cut. Anybody else successful in building their boat? Go ahead and add your comments if you had problems, if the boat worked pretty well. And then as you blow on it, see how fast it moves through the water. Other boats that you can have the kids make out of crafts. You can have the kids make boats out of flowing pretty well. Very nicely, very nicely. You could have them make them out of straws. You can put straws together in a baggie to float and hold them together. You can have them make them out of sticks. You can have them make them out of half cartons, milk cartons, especially the quart size or smaller, cup size cartons. You can have them make boats. So there's lots of materials. Aluminum foil. So we have lots of materials there that you could use. You all want to hold up some of the materials that you could use to make other boats out of? But given time constraints, we're not going to take time to make all those other boats. Yep. So anyway, Joey, let's go ahead and let's switch back to the front camera as we prepare for the next activity. And so we're going to switch back to the front camera here. And so a raft is going to push itself along. It's going to push the water along. Here we've got a picture of a raft that's made out of straws inside of a baggie. The boat will move more easily. And the kids can test different designs and then create new designs. So they take a design, take their ideas, make a new boat, try again, revise their boat, try again. Again, that method, that engineering design method. So they can make lots of different things. But we've got one more activity to go and just a few minutes left. So we're going to do levers at play. Levers at play, this is a different idea. Instead of a wedge, we are going to be playing with a lever. And our lever is going to be a seesaw. Levers require something there as a fulcrum, and you need the long platform and your loads. So one idea behind a lever is a meter stick here, and I've got a can. So the can can be my fulcrum, and the meter stick can be my platform. I've got a couple of cups here taped to the edges that can be my design. But there's lots of ways that you can revise this design. You can revise it by changing where things are, and you can revise the size and the scale and the materials that you use. So the kids, and also in addition to revising the design, you can give the kids a challenge, such as inviting them to see which materials, which design they can come up with that when they drop something heavy in it, makes the other one go flying the farthest, for instance. So different designs. Let's go ahead and let's see what some of these designs might look like. Come on. So you need to pick the materials you think would be best and plan how you're going to use those materials. So for you folks, I would like you to type in now which materials you think you would use or which materials are you using. Go ahead and type in which materials you want to do. And Joey, let's go ahead and switch over to the other camera and let's take a look and see what our ladies are doing. Ladies, come around to the side so they can see you closer to the camera and start designing a seesaw. Start designing a seesaw with your materials. You'll need a platform, you'll need a fulcrum, and you'll need something to catch things in for your seesaw. So here's a basic design. You've got some cups there, you've got some rulers, you've got sticks, you've got tubes, you've got all sorts of things you can use. And there's assortments of cups, and then there's assortments of materials that you can use for your weights as well. And then test out with the different weights and the materials, test out your design and make changes. And while they're doing that, I'd like to see, okay, Mary put down that she would use feathers and beans and coins as different weights, different examples, different ideas. Anybody else have other materials that they would like to suggest that they would do? What materials would everybody else use? Do you have things there at your facility that would be easy to use? Or fun things that you think the kids would enjoy playing with for designing their seesaws? Or do you have a particular challenge you'd like to suggest? Dixie cups, and pom-poms and Legos. Legos, awesome. And dried beans, excellent, excellent. So as you design your seesaw, you might determine that, oh, well, the materials are not the right size, or they're too heavy, or things are falling over. You might determine that it's not staying in place, or that you've tied it so tightly in place that it doesn't move. So all sorts of issues with the design challenge. Ooh, marshmallows. I like that idea, Christina. Excellent idea. So do any of you want to demonstrate yours? Anyone have one that they want to demonstrate? Nope. Okay. Well, we are going to continue on to our concluding slides here while they are finishing up. Joey, let's keep the camera on them for right now. And while they're doing that, bottom of an egg carton in a funnel. I would like to invite you to spend just 1 minute typing in any ideas that you have about how you would implement these activities, what changes you might make, how you would revise them, how would you use them at your facility. So, and Cassandra, no problem with being late. We absolutely understand. Thank you for joining us. Yolanda's got one ready. Test it. Let's see what happens. Hey! We'd like to see your seesaw. Hold it up. A pencil sharpener? And she just used tape to hold it in place? And some cups? And marble and nuts in one side. And when she drops the marble, she sees how it moves. Great. Okay, well, we need to finish up. There are a variety of resources. Okay, and Melanie says that she's going to implement these programs with her summer reading theme. Build a better world. Excellent. So it's building. They're building different things, and it incorporates STEM activities. Oh, that is fabulous. Fabulous. The Explore website is here, and has a variety of different hands-on science activities, and the StarNet activity website is there. Deidre Hawkins says it's perfect for the summer library programs. Excellent. We would like you to join us again in 30 minutes for Playful Building Design Challenges. We are going to have a drawing, and let's see. We are going to do a drawing for one of all of those who attended today. And Joey, we have 57 participants, right? We have a survey we'd like you to complete. And at the end of that survey, we're going to use that to help us determine how to do more of these and improve them. Kathy says that she'd test edible items for weight. Oh, fabulous. Marshmallow and popcorns and jelly beans. We will, after you finish the survey, you can get a certificate for attending today. We're going to do a drawing. Out of everyone who attended today, one lucky person is going to get 50 pairs of solar eclipse glasses to use for their summer programs this summer. 50 pairs of eclipse glasses, courtesy of StarNet. And we will let you know who won. We will email out that winner. We will take a look at everyone who attended right now. And if you attend the next one in 30 minutes, we'll do a drawing again, probably a live drawing for that person. So they'll know immediately. We're out of time. We'll let them know immediately who won the 50 eclipse glasses for that one. So double prizes. Prize now, one person gets 50 eclipse glasses mailed to them. And in 30 minutes, come back and join us again, and we will mail another person 50 eclipse glasses. Thank you all for joining us. If you want to stay on the line, you are welcome to, but let's try this again. The Discover Tech resources are resources at the StarNet Libraries website. So you can visit their project website for the resources. You can contact Ann Holland. You can also contact Kelly LeConte. Her name was, and contact information was on the last slide. Somehow that got lost in this process. Let's go ahead and continue. The Explore program is here at LPI. We have materials and activities for libraries, camps, and other out-of-school time programs. Each activity uses inexpensive materials, and the activities highlight engineering and science concepts. The kids get to investigate them. You can do demonstrations, there's crafts, and there's a variety of facilitated conversations, ways to discuss things. We have training as well, and StarNet does too. So this is an example of one today. We're so glad you're all with us.
Christine, I'm sorry, can I interrupt for 1 second? A couple people are having trouble hearing you. If you could either move your microphone or speak a little louder.
Certainly. Let me go ahead and try that.
That seems better.
Better?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. So you can, let me go back one slide here. The Discover Tech resources are at the StarNet Libraries website. You're welcome to go there to learn more about different activities and resources. StarNet is focused on libraries, and they have accumulated a number of resources for you. and communities and discussion boards. In addition to them, the Explore program was originally created for libraries, but we're also inviting camps and other out-of-school time programs to join us. And we have a variety of inexpensive materials for the activities that highlight engineering and science concepts through investigations, demonstrations, crafts, and we guide you through facilitated conversations to make the most out of some of these activities. You see our website there. We'll share it again at the very end of the program today. Both Explore and StarNet are funded through NASA, through NSF, and StarNet has a number of other partners as well. So for this second webinar, we're going to be designing a park. And for that park, there's different things you might want to include in it. You might want to include in that park some of the resources we did in the last webinar, such as building slides. You can build teeter-totters, seesaws. But for our park, we might also want to have a water filter in case your park has water as one of the factors in it. And you might want to figure out how you're going to power your park, where your energy is going to come from. So we have a wind turbine tech challenge that we're going to play with. All of the activities are for children ages up to about 13. So for your children, young children, all the way up to your tweens. And activities are meant to be social, not to be done one-on-one so much, but done in groups. That makes them much more engaging. The activities use the engineering design process. Engineers, they work to solve the basic challenges of life, and so each of us can do this as well. We all have to find ways to address challenges. Engineers use technology, but these technologies can include everyday materials in some cases to help us enjoy our world. And the children can also build creative things through this process that engineers use, where you're thinking, you're building, you're testing, and then you're revising. You're doing it again. You think some more, you see how it worked, you redesign, you build again, you test again, and you redesign again. Sometimes these are a result of a challenge. So in some of these cases, we have to give you a challenge of what it is you're trying to do, or you decide the challenge. The first challenge here is going to be designing a park. This one uses less of the engineering design process, but those communication and collaboration skills are still fundamental to this particular activity. So if you were going to design a park, what features would you want to include in that park? So here for our interactive part, you can type in the chat box. What features would you like to see in a park? Go ahead and open my chat window so I can see what you're typing. Trees and a pond. A pond would be awesome. Slides. What other features would you like to see in a park? Something that, open space, something that allows for motor skills, water fountains, restrooms. Restrooms are really useful. Swings, more water features. So, Joey, is there a way to make that screen bigger so I can see more than one at a time? Benches, gardens, a sports area. Wheelchair friendly, so make it fabulous, thank you. All sorts of wonderful things. And for those of you out there, if you're having trouble seeing everything in the chat box, you can adjust your chat box window too a little bit and allow you to see what people are saying. Merry-go-rounds, grass, citizen science, pet area, a community garden. So we've got all sorts of different ideas here about what we can include. Oh, a zip line, awesome, awesome. Some of these things would require staff, some of these things would require energy, and some of these things would require water. So let's talk a little bit about these different features. If you're planning this park of your dreams, you might want to figure out how to fit all the different things you want and how economically you are going to prepare for this. So this activity allows the kids to work together to plan what's going to be where. It must include restrooms. And let's go ahead and talk about the things that you're going to use. You are going to use a large sheet of graph paper, something like this. This has different lines on it. I don't know if you can see the lines, but it has lines to help with the scale. And in addition to the lines to help with the scale, we have yarn and some beads. So the yarn can represent trails or bike paths. You can use beads to highlight lights along those paths. And you need to decide what's going to go where. So Joey, let's go ahead and let's switch now to the Elmo. And let's talk about some of these features. In this activity write-up, we have a variety of choices that are already written up in images that you can print out and use. And in these images, let me go ahead and, Joey, can you make my picture bigger so I can see my picture? So you can use, but each of them is going to take space, right? So open space here. And you'll notice that open space has a negative number. It doesn't cost much to make that open space, but it is going to take up space. A stream running through it. The open space doesn't cost much. The stream is going to have to be maintained. You're going to have to do a little bit, but it adds a lot of benefits, and it really doesn't cost much either. The wetlands has a negative number. It's a resource that'll draw people to your area, and it'll also help to refurbish the water, clean the water for you. A community garden will draw more people to you, and they will be doing the work. They will be planting things themselves. The boat shop and the boat slip bring in money. People will be renting those boats, so that'll give you money for your park. A skate park. A skate park is going to need to be maintained, and it will cost you something for that maintenance, and yet you're probably not having somebody charge for attendance, so it's going to cost you a little bit. Similar, a baseball diamond, it's going to cost you some to maintain. Playground is going to cost a little bit to build and maintain. The trees aren't going to cost you anything. A dog park, a little bit to maintain. A picnic area. So we've got some different ideas. The ice cream shop. An ice cream shop is a negative 300 because that'll bring in money to help maintain your park. So if you've got somebody there selling something, you can use that money for your park. So these are some of the different ideas, but they're also scaled to a certain size. And with these sizes, you have to figure out the kids can't have everything. So they'll have to decide what their priorities are. Is their priority to have a nice shade tree or a picnic area? If they're going to have a picnic area in the shade tree, are they going to have enough room for a large open space for flying kites, for instance? Are they going to have enough space for a skate park? So they're going to use that graph paper that you gave them, and they're going to have to decide. Now, for the younger kids, you can give them a minimum number, a maximum number of items that they can put. For the older kids, they can have a budget, and with their budget, they can determine whether they are going to use, which items they're going to include, which items are their priority. So this is going to require some collaboration, some discussion as they're determining what they want to include. It's going to be a process where they're going to be communicating with each other and planning, and it might take a little bit of time. So, questions for you. Let's go ahead and go back to the main screen, Joey. My question for you, and let's open up that chat bar nice and big. How would you implement this? When and where and how would you do this? And what changes would you make to this? So this is the interactive part. I'm going to go ahead and let you type some things into your chat box now. By the way, if anyone is having trouble seeing any of the video, let us know. Joey, can you go ahead and, Suzanne said that she couldn't see the park. So Suzanne, are you able to see the video? Are you seeing my video right now? Sarah said she'd do a summer reading program. Suzanne can only see the, okay, so Suzanne, you're having a little bit of trouble seeing video. There's a video screen that isn't opening for you. So maybe you and Ann could chat to each other and try to figure out how to work that.
Yeah, really quickly, because it looks like there's a few people saying that now. Guys, there's just a little arrow next to the line that says participants. When you drop down that arrow, the video will show up.
Joey, for me, for my screen, can you open up the chat box nice and big? Thanks. Okay, so some of you are now able to see the video. The scale of the grid is about 1 inch. So the grid is 1 inch. And those of you only saw who weren't able to see the video, hopefully you're able to see the video now. It's up, as she mentioned. Click down on the participants list and you should see video under participants to open up the video. So after school program, library program, somebody would do it as a STEM program at any time during the year. To buy things, you can buy large tablets of this type of grid sheet. Yolanda, do you know offhand where we purchased this? We've had this for quite some time. It's a graph sheet from a tablet. Office Depot. Office Depot is a good place to buy paper. And Staples, Diane says Staples has it as well. So a great discussion for tweens about why things have positive and negative costs. Have them determine the cost. Think of new items that they would do. So that's a great idea. That's a great idea. If anyone cannot see the video, please let us know or type it in the chat box now, so that way we know who's having trouble seeing the video. So this was the video of the graph sheet, but in addition to that, we were showing you some of the different images that come with the activity, things that will have pictures and costs that they can then place on the graph sheet. Each of them is a different scale, a different size. So some things like trees are really small and have 0. On the other hand, the community garden is larger and negative because it has so much benefits in the way of benefits. Skate park costs 215 points in this case, and it's going to take a bigger space. So Diane says they just did a community build for a playground, so she would probably switch this up to an amusement park and do it as an amusement park instead. Awesome. Awesome. Let's go ahead and continue. If anyone has trouble with video any further, please let us know. Please type something in the chat box or comment to us. We will continue on with the next activity. So for this next activity, the Wind Turbine Tech Challenge, we are going to be demonstrating for you how to build one of these, and then we are also going to play around with other changes, ways that you can modify it. A source for the pictures and the cost savings, the actual activity write-up has all of the pictures in it, and it's online. All of these activities are available online, and the PDF has all of the pictures and the costs and savings all together in the write-up. And yes, it's at StarNet, and it's also at Explore. So let's go ahead and move along to the Wind Turbine Tech Challenge. Yolanda, I think we're going to need some help from you here too. We are going to talk in just a couple of minutes about this. Can you bring the model over here and some of the materials while we're talking here? She's getting ready for the door prize. We're going to have a door prize at the very end, folks. One lucky person is going to get a complete set of solar eclipse glasses. So stay tuned for that. There are 2 different types of wind turbines. There's ones with a horizontal axis. How many of you, if you have seen one of these driving down the road? I know I have. Woohoo! Woohoo to the eclipse glasses, right? If any of you have seen this type of wind turbine just driving down the road, go ahead and type in yes. Or if you want to raise your hand, there's a way to do that as well under the participants list. But a bunch of you have. They're spinning vertically, right? They're spinning vertically because the axis is horizontal. In this case, the axis is horizontal. The Texas kind, we have them here in Texas. We also have them in New Mexico, all over the West. Absolutely. Yes, Patrick, they are in West Texas, all over. And they're also up in the Panhandle. There's another kind that's vertical, where they're spinning around a vertical axis. I don't see as many of those. I suspect that they're probably a smaller scale. But there's a couple different ways to build it. There's more than a couple different ways. Oh, I did not know that. So there's a whole bunch of these horizontal, okay, of the horizontals in Iowa. Has anyone seen a vertical one? I haven't. A whole lot. Parking lots. Excellent, Mary. Thank you. So there's multiple designs for windmills. So we are going to be designing one. We're going to use common materials. Now, if you happen to have some Post-it notes with you, a straw, some toothpicks, and a piece of something like Play-Doh or dough with you right now, I'd like you to do this along with us so that you can practice it. You've seen verticals near the Detroit airport. Fabulous. And windmills produce 20% of the energy in Iowa. That is awesome. So we're going to build one of these, and I want to give you the opportunity to practice along with us. We are going to be switching over to the other camera, and the camera here is going to become pretty important. So if it isn't open for you folks, go ahead and make sure that you can see your camera. Joey, can you make sure that we can see our camera too? And so you are going to build and test your own wind turbine. The end product is going to look like this. And I'm going to have Yolanda build one for you while I give her instructions, so that way I can see where she struggles and I can see where you struggle, since she hasn't built one of these either. So the very first thing she's going to do is she's going to take a piece of paper, and yeah, it can be an index card or a piece of paper, and she's going to do a hole punch through it. If you don't have a hole punch with you, just put some of those toothpicks through it to make a hole. You need the hole to be big enough to fit the toothpicks through, but the hole does not need to be so big that that things on the top are going to stick to things on the bottom. This is going to separate your toothpicks. This is going to separate your windmill from the Play-Doh. So go ahead and put the paper down and grab a chunk of Play-Doh, a small chunk of Play-Doh. Did the video disappear? We're trying to fix the video. We seem to, it's not showing up here.
Oh. Sorry, give me one second. I'm trying to fix it. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're grabbing a small piece. Okay, good. We're grabbing a small chunk, just a tiny piece of the Play-Doh. Just a tiny piece. Maybe half of that. That's good. And you can just go ahead and put that down. It needs to be flat so it's not rolling around too much. Excellent. And now some toothpicks. Let's go ahead and grab 4 toothpicks. 4 toothpicks. And put them together, all together, and stick them into the Play-Doh. There we go. So they're upright. Excellent. Now we need a straw. And we don't want the whole straw. We want a straw that is going to cover those toothpicks. The straw is going to go over the toothpicks, but before we cover the toothpicks with it, let's put the piece of paper to separate the straw from the Play-Doh. Sorry. If any of you are trying this along with us, that would be great. That gives you the opportunity to get the practice in. So the straw, we want the straw to be about the right height to completely cover the toothpicks. It can be a little bit taller than the toothpicks, but not so tall that it's going to fall over. And then now the tricky part is to fit it over those toothpicks. There we go. So we have a straw on top of those toothpicks, on top of the Play-Doh. Next step, we are going to use a few of the sticky notes there. Little ones in this case. And we're going to be putting them on the straw 90 degrees apart from each other. So yeah, put vertically on the straw, 1. Now do another one right next to it, 90 degrees apart from it. Excellent. And you may have to move them around as you're doing this. Three. And one more. It doesn't look like mine. It looks a little bit different. That's okay. That's okay. So, yeah, there's Yolanda's. Here was mine. They're very similar. They're very similar. And Yolanda, go ahead and let's see if we can get this one to move. Let's make sure that our straw is not sticking into the Play-Doh, that it's resting on top. And try blowing, and let's see if we can get it to spin. Excellent. All right, Joey, let's go ahead and open up the chat box. Excellent. Hopefully you all were able to see that pretty well. We still have the video. We still want you to be able to see the video. So we've got some questions. Why do we have the paper there? The paper is, yes, to make it easier for the straw to rotate. You want that straw to be able to move. So Mary says, yay. If any of you were trying it along yourselves, you can go ahead and tell us how yours went. If anybody did some of those themselves, we'd love to see how it went for you. Post-its are our friends here. And while you're talking about that and talking about how it worked for you, it is a fun project. Thanks, Kathy. The next step, though, if we're going to do this as a true engineering design project, is how would you modify it? So how did it work for you if you made it work, or how could we change it? Rachel said she had to remove a toothpick so the straw could rotate freely. She had trouble getting that straw to move because there were too many toothpicks in it. And would move, but not if I blow on it. So sometimes they don't move as well as we want them to. What are some ways that we could modify it to make it move better? What are some changes we could make? And Deidre said hers worked. What are some changes we could make to this? More propellers. So instead of 4 pieces of paper, it could be more, or have them at different heights. You could try having the papers higher and lower, have the papers longer, have bigger pieces of paper, absolutely, longer propellers. Different straw sizes. You can make the straws narrower or longer or shorter, absolutely. So we could change the sizes of the papers, we could change the sizes of the straw, we could add more papers. We could cut the Post-it notes into different shapes, absolutely. So we could try the Post-it notes in a triangle shape or a curved shape. So we've got somebody who actually has some knowledge here. They know that the more propellers, the less energy it takes to get moving. So adding more propellers, instead of having 4, we could try putting 5 or 6 there. Great ideas. And somebody, oh, he ran a STEM program on wind turbines last spring. Excellent. Are these activities, all of these activities are online. The websites for the activities are in the PowerPoint, and we will email out to you the PowerPoint. We will also email out to you the recording of this and the links for all of these activities. All of these activities are both available on the Explore website and on the StarNet website. So you will all be getting an email with all of the links. So some great variations to the existing model. What if you wanted to completely change the model? What types of materials? We used paper and straws and toothpicks. Are there other materials that you might consider using? What other materials would make the best wind turbine? Maybe some sticks or plastic wooden dowels. Oh, I like that. Wooden screws and milk jugs. So a variety of different ideas. Oh. Just knocked something over. Sorry, I was trying to grab the rest of the materials from that activity. This is why I'm not allowed to handle things. So anyway, playing cards. Oh, I like that. I was going to show you, you can absolutely use different types of paper, toilet paper tubes. Excellent. Now, heavier things they may find don't move as well. So it might take more energy to get them moving. But you can let the kids explore and practice and then decide what they want to change. Hair dryers as your wind source. Excellent, excellent. Still good. It's still good. We'll clean this up later. All right. Well, so the idea here behind this activity, you're going to use common materials to design this wind turbine. And the idea behind the wind turbine is to supply that park with electricity. The activity itself, you can take as little as 15 minutes with the kids with it. You can take 30 minutes or longer if they're experimenting. Oh, can they make a life-size version? Wouldn't that be awesome? We used soda straws and Post-it notes and Play-Doh and toothpicks, or you can use toilet paper tubes, paper towel tubes, cardboard, tape. A life-size version. Anybody have any suggestions what materials you would use if you wanted the kids to make a life-size version? And I assume the parking lot life-size version as opposed to the giant windmill out in the desert life-size version. Any ideas? Carpet rolls. Wow. Wow. Okay, so there's kits out there that you could buy. PVC pipe, especially scrap PVC pipe, and cardboard from inside the carpet roll. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, tubes. And you need a really good wind source for some of these. Make sure that you can take it outside. A hairdryer is not going to do it for one of these large ones. But excellent. Pool noodles. Oh, that would be awesome. Awesome. And you could try making a horizontal windmill rather than a vertical one. All of the models we've done so far were the vertical models, so a horizontal model would be different. Okay. Thank you all. Shall we move on to another activity? And of course, you want, if the kids are working in teams, the kids can compare their models. If they're working in teams, you have multiple teams, and they're comparing which ones are working better, which materials work better, which shapes are working better. And then after they compare, you know, Joey's to Yolanda's, to Christine's, to George's, after they've compared them, said, oh, well, yours works better, but yours is lighter. I'm going to make mine more like yours and more like yours, and then revise again based on all of the different experiences and all the information that they're gathering from that process. So again, this process of engineering is, you don't just rebuild it once. You test it and you rebuild it again. And, ooh, that's a nice idea. Converting the windmill into something you can raise or lower the weight. So something where it's actually powering something attached to your little windmill, something where it is moving something up and down. Awesome ideas. Our last activity is, you're going to need, several of you mentioned wanting a pond or some other water feature. If you've got a pond in your park or something else that has water in your park, you're going to need to make sure that that water is staying clean. You can't just have a pond out there without finding some way to filter it. Over time, it's going to get pretty nasty. So this last activity, we're going to be talking about ways to design a water filter and have the kids explore and experiment with water filters. So this is a challenge, keeping that water clean. Those of you with pools already know that there's a variety of things that can contaminate your pool. So thank you for everyone who, Elizabeth said she just tested it later and she'll follow up with us after the fact. Contaminants. You can get leaves and twigs and sediment, but you can also grow some pretty nasty things in water that's just sitting there. So we're good, and of course there's runoff, pesticides and other things get into the water as well. So we're going to talk about ways that you can keep that pond or water feature clean. Again, this is a problem, and all engineering challenges start off with talking to the kids about how do you adjust that challenge, how do you clean your park's water, and let the kids come up with some different ideas of their own. You can start off by asking them to share their own personal favorite ideas, but after they've shared their ideas, you might need to give them an example. What materials might work best to clean the water, to clean the twigs, the leaves, the sediments, the pesticides? Do any of you have some ideas that you'd like to enter in the chat box now? What materials do you think you would want to include in that water filter? What would you use for a water filter? Here's the interactive part. So screen, some sort of a screen to catch the bigger items. That's a great idea, Kathy, a screen. Charcoal. Charcoal would need to be contained to help. It definitely gets use as a filter. Those of you with aquariums might have charcoal as an aquarium. Multiple screens for cheesecloth. Cheesecloth is a great thing. Any other suggestions? Butterfly nets. That's a fun idea, especially for this model that we're making with the kids. Okay, so you're looking for alternatives for that gray water, and a worm bin and gravel. Colanders, a colander might make a great screen. So we've got all sorts of ideas. Let's talk about some of these. Some of you said charcoal, and you can buy like aquarium charcoal. A system to refrigerate the water, especially if you're using a water fountain or something, you'll need something to refrigerate the water. Oh, reintegrates the water into the water source. So something where you're taking the water out and putting it back in. Absolutely. Absolutely. So these are all great ideas, and we're going to incorporate some of them. We have a demonstration filter here. And for our demonstration filter, it does have cheesecloth at the bottom. The cheesecloth bag should be out somewhere. I have a piece of cheesecloth. Here we go. So this demonstration filter has cheesecloth. A few different layers of it have been put over the mouth of the bottle. So we've cut off the top of the bottle, and we've got cheesecloth that's covering the mouth. Absolutely, I do need help. Come on over here, Yolanda. Okay, so the cheesecloth has been put over the mouth of the bottle as the first step. And we've rubber banded around it to hold it in place. And then after that, we've added a couple cups of the charcoal. And then after the charcoal, we've added a few cups, like 3 cups of sand. And after the sand, we've added a couple cups of aquarium gravel. Coffee filters are definitely a great idea that you could use. So we've got a variety of things here for our filter. And we're going to test our filter. Our dirty water here is actually tea. We've some loose tea leaves that were put into water and steeped for a while. So it's got some loose tea leaves, it's got water. It looks nasty, but it smells good. It's Earl Grey. So I'm going to go ahead and pour some in, and you're going to see how this works. It's going to take a little bit of time to work. And it's going to take a while to make its way through. I have run a little bit of water ahead of time already through the filter because the charcoal turns the water gray initially. And you have, just like when you put a new filter into your sink or your fridge, it takes a while for to clean the charcoal out of the gray residue. So just like you have to run a filter for a little bit at first. I already ran some water through it. But we've got water coming through now, and it's starting off as brown. And it's coming out mostly clear. It's a little gray. It's a little gray, but it's mostly clear. It's coming, and it trickles out. It takes time. So it's not the same brown color. If you want to move it a little bit closer to the camera here, just so they can see a little bit better, and up a little bit higher. Everybody see that? So it's not perfectly clear, and we're not going to encourage the kids to drink this by any means. We're running it through gravel and sand. But it is cleaner. It's cleaning it out of the twigs. It's cleaning it of some of the contaminants. The charcoal is helping to clean some of the biotics out of it. That might be a problem, some of the microbes. So here's one model that you could demonstrate for the kids. But then after you're done demonstrating for the kids, you may need to have them create their own experiments. And the idea here, we don't want them to start from scratch. We don't want them to make it, they don't know where to start. You want to give them some ideas, but you also don't want them to completely just make what you made. That's not the idea. Give them some bottles and assortments of materials like sand, like gravel, like charcoal, like filters, coffee filters, cheesecloth, and maybe have each team test one item at a time. Have one team just test sand and one team just test the gravel, and then they can proceed to doing combinations. Food coloring. Food coloring is not a great substitute for tea because food coloring does such a good job of integrating it. It might not come out even with your best filters. You're going to have a hard time getting food coloring out. That's a great question. But you can see it's definitely lighter in color than it was before. It's not clear completely, but it's definitely lighter. You might have them do another one and pass this through another filter and see how that works. Thanks, Yolanda. I appreciate that. But again, the materials, you can have the kids experiment with materials of their own. They might want to use little pieces of styrofoam as a filter, or sponges as a filter, little pieces of cut-up sponge. Or you could have them use marbles. Just don't lose the marbles. And of course, sand. A variety of sand. If you don't have aquarium gravel, any type of gravel would work. So all sorts of different ideas. And you can only fix so much. That's right, Diane. It's not really possible. It is possible with enough technology to get it completely clean. But there's limitations, right? There's limitations in terms of time and materials and money. So you can use this activity is going to take you at least 15 minutes. And if the kids are indeed experimenting and building their own and revising their own and redesigning their own, it's going to take more than half an hour for them to test and redesign and test and redesign. It's going to take a while. So it can get pretty messy as well. You might want to keep some paper towels on hand, a little broom on hand. For those of you as klutzy as I am, I've got gravel all over the floor. So, and don't drink the water. I don't care how clean it looks. Test one material at a time maybe, do it again, revise, maybe add another material to it, or test a separate material if different kids are testing different materials, then have them start to combine the materials. And what's the combination, what's going to be the best filter? And compare after the fact, which one worked best? Oh, you did a great job, your team, you know, the red team over here did fabulous, but the yellow team over there, their filter is actually working a little better. Maybe we can combine them. Or maybe there's a way to do it faster because sometimes it takes a while. The more materials you add, the longer it's going to take for that water to get through it. Some of the people in Bangladesh actually use cloth to clean their water. They use a fine cloth to get some of those particulates out. And it's so fine that it even takes out some of the microbes, some of the larger microbes that spread disease there. It's not capable of taking out bacteria, all of the bacteria and viruses, but some of those little ugly things that we don't want in our water, some of the parasites. In Nepal, here students are helping to clean water, and they're using gravel and sand and plants. Plants, of course, also are a wonderful thing to help clean water. All of these activities, design a park, and the ones that we did in the first webinar, Team Machine, Water Wedges, Lever at Play, and the ones that we just did right now, the wind turbine and the filter, those can all be wrapped around the theme of a community park if you wanted to. Those could all be integrated into a single theme that you could use. And you might want to pull in partners as you're doing activities, engineering activities. Good partners for engineering activities, the National Girls Collaborative Project reaches girls across the United States, and they have a number of engineering ideas as well. Aspire, you've got women who are engineers. National Engineer Week was just this past month, and there was Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day, for instance. So if you waited until next February, you could partner with them, but they have resources you can use all year round and challenges. Some good ideas here. Collect water source from a pond and let it test it for a week and see how it looks. That's a great idea. And collaborating with local conservation boards, wonderful idea. Thank you so much for that. Other ideas, what other ideas do you have? Who else would you collaborate with for any of these park activities? Who would you collaborate with for any of these park activities? State parks. And oh, great, the Ugandan Water Project for water filtration, absolutely. Earth Day events, Earth Day is coming up. You could collaborate with your local science center or your local water utility center, who comes to visit them, and or if one of them can come to you. Waterkeeper, Parks and Rec departments. Waterkeeper, can you tell me more about what Waterkeeper is? I haven't heard of them. The Town Planning Commission on how to design a town for the kids instead of just a park. That's awesome. That's an awesome way to collaborate. Waterkeepers look after the local streams and lakes. Oh, awesome. And they do demonstrations like this. So see if you can find some waterkeepers who help to maintain and observe the quality of the local streams and lakes. They can do a demonstration. They can also, I'm sure they have lots of other demonstrations as well. That would be an amazing resource. And of course, history museums, natural history museums, wonderful resource. local farmers and county agents, local citizen science projects, if the waterkeepers are doing, waterkeeper.org, thanks Ann. Garden clubs would be a great place to coordinate with for some of these activities as well. So this is part of our implementation discussion. How would you revise or implement any of the activities that we have done now? How would you revise or implement any of the activities? Julie, can you expand the chat window again so I can see? What changes would you make? Are there changes to the activities that you would recommend for any of these activities for your audiences to make them more appropriate or to improve them? What ideas do you have? Where would you implement them? Would you implement them as individual activities at separate times, or would you implement them in stations all together at once? Part of an after-school program. And you would like to have the pictures with sticky tack so they could be moved. Yes, yes, that's a great idea. Maybe even laminate them. You could print them out on cardstock, but certainly if there's something laminated with sticky, they can move them as they design them. That would be good. Make it more connected to the community by asking them what they would do if they would redesign a current park that they already go to. So that way you're connecting them to a park that they're already familiar with. That is awesome. You can expand the water filtration to erosion control. Awesome. Erosion control is such an issue with so many communities. So yes, Jennifer, you mentioned the Build a Better World summer reading program, and so you could incorporate these activities into the reading program. Jennifer, would you do them as stations on the same day, or would you do these as separate days during the summer? And build a soda bottle aquarium as part of this. Awesome. And you can do an erosion activity with an aquarium. Do them with your homeschool groups. You could use recycled materials for the park. Absolutely. For as many of these things as possible, I recommend using recycled materials. Thanks, Kathy. Some of these you might have to do as standalone, and some of them you could do as stations. That's true. The ones that we did in the first webinar might be good in stations. The ones that we just did, because of the amount of time involved, might be better for standalone. Filtration system into your current ecology program. You've got a freshwater ecology program. Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Patrick. That's great. And connect it to riparian zones. Awesome. For environmental themes. Okay. I will let you continue to share. Oh, breweries are concerned with water filtration. So the Michigan breweries, you could collaborate. That would be fun. Especially for the adults, have the adults come and hear a little bit from the brewery at the same time. Of course, you might want some extra volunteers for some of these programs. Of course, many of you probably take advantage of teens and college students already. If you have any engineering majors, they might be able to share a little bit about what they as an engineer do as part of this. If you're doing individual or stations, leading them, letting them explore, and you leading them with questions, and they're answering the questions and asking each other questions. That's always great. If you can get them to ask each other and answer each other's questions, that is awesome. And involve them in that process, making sure they know what that process is and what they're doing, so that way they remember it the next time. So there's a variety of other resources for you out there. Several of you were asking, where do we find these activities? You can find these activities and more at the LPI Explorer website and at the StarNet Library, Clearinghouse Library website. So these two websites are the two key websites that will take you to all of these activities and many, many more. So we would like you to visit these websites if you have not done so. We will email you these websites along with where to find the PowerPoint and the recording from today. We are just about ready to do a drawing for who the lucky winner is going to be for those solar eclipse glasses. A great suggestion here about reversing the filtration system to show the flow of water through a filter. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. So that way you can run it backwards and see how the water moves and how it runs through holes and talk about the water flow. And Deidre's hoping she wins those solar eclipse glasses. Yolanda, come on down here. So they have put all of your names into little pieces of paper, and we're going to do the drawing. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Who is going to win that set of eclipse glasses? And they put the pieces of paper in, so I didn't even have anything to do with this. I'm going to pick one right here. Is that one piece or two pieces? That's one piece, and the winner is April. April Moon?
April Moon? April M.
April M. April M. You are the winner. Sorry, Zedra. If you did not win, and if you are a librarian, if you go to the StarNet website, there is a place there where you can register your eclipse events, and they will send you a packet of solar eclipse glasses and other materials. If you are not a librarian, and many of you aren't, talk to us, and we will see if we can help you hook up with some NASA sites. But many NASA people, including us, we're going to be buying our own. So we're buying our own. We don't get any from anybody else. But if you want to go there where Ann has just posted, the StarNet Libraries website there for the 2017 eclipse, you can register if you're a library for your community event, and they will send you out materials as well. Congratulations, April. Thank you all so much for joining us. We are so glad to have you with us today. We want your feedback on how today went. We have another webinar coming up on April the 12th, Discover Earth. So we're going to repeat this, and we want your feedback on how today went, the length of time. If you want, instead of 2 separate webinars, would you like one that's longer? Would you like 2 separate ones? Do you like 2 lengths? Do you like them both to be shorter? What are your preferences? And how can we improve? So there's a survey that Ann just posted there in the chat box. We would love for you to go to that survey and fill it out and give us feedback. And we'd like to hear more from you. Thank you all so much for joining us. Oh, certificates, yes. We will be getting you certificates as well. Ann, can you tell us, can they connect to the certificates from that survey site, or will we be emailing them out the certificates? We were working on this earlier. Which one is it going to be, Ann? Let us know.
So sorry, I set it up so that once everyone closes the window, they will get redirected to that survey site. So I'm not sure if that's actually where we want them to be going right now.
Okay. We would love for you to go to the survey site. When they close out the survey site, will they get the certificate, Ann, or do you
I'm sorry, the certificate site is what I meant to say. English.
So when you close out this window, you'll get a certificate. And if you have any trouble with anything, the certificates, the surveys, or if you have suggestions, please contact us. Please email us. That email link at the bottom, explore@lpi.usra.edu, will come to me. Go ahead and send that to me, and I will send you all that you need. Some of you had trouble getting to the survey, so Ann, go ahead and repost that survey again. And thank you all so much for joining us. Have a lovely day.